Everybody, welcome. I hope you had a nice, quick break running from one session to another. We're going to have a very interesting session now, moderated by Thibault. So I'd like to welcome you up to the stage.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cool. Hi, guys. Thank you. But that's quite nice to see that revenue management is still quite popular. So thank you for coming here. I told them next year we are on the main stage. That would be that's a deal. There you go. But today we're going to talk about mastering revenue management for a change, and automation and technology can help us collaborate with AI and human revenue manager. So for this, I'm going to invite Mattias as well as Alexander. You can join me on the panel. Thank you. So yeah, Alexander is the CEO of Atomize. I'm sure you know Atomize, but it's a revenue management system which is used by more than 500 hotels worldwide, and using a lot of automation and advanced dynamic pricing. All right. And Mattias Tanski is the CEO of CIC Hospitality, which is an hotel operator worldwide, if I'm not mistaken.
In the Nordics.
In the Nordics, close enough. Yeah. And he's operating with more than currently with more than 30 properties, and he has much more in the pipeline. So very interesting with the approach of Mattias as well on innovation and the way he integrates as well technology in his daily operation. All right. But thank you for joining me. Cool. So let's start with the first question, because today you talk about the importance of new technology in your operation. So are there any specific tools or innovation that you have adopted recently that changed completely the game in revenue management and your approach as well to revenue management? If I start with Alexander.
I think it's hi, by the way. Yeah, but it's difficult not to say AI, but it sounds a little bit boring as well. But I think that when in revenue management, many people think about AI and revenue management, they think about that prices and stuff like that needs to be AI driven. But there are so many other things within revenue management that can be used when it comes to AI or the reverse. And that is, for instance, as we're looking at right now, where you can reconstruct, historical data, for instance, which is data is essential when you're to do proper clean data, to do proper revenue management, as you all know. But that many times, especially in this landscape now, when a lot of providers are changing PMSs, swapping from one PMS to another, and they don't bring that old data with them in many cases. And then we need to reconstruct historical data, and that's where we have seen now with AI that we can start doing that, which is fabulous. And so even if you also if you have sort of black periods, so to speak, in the data, there are discrepancies, so on. You can fabricate sort of data, reconstruct. That's one example.
Yeah, they garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah,
so if you start with the right data, then you can do those things.
Then when it comes also to identifying patterns and so on, already now we can use AI to identify flag periods or single items that are be identified as corrupt, and it cleansed out automatically. So, because that's the starting point, right, for good revenue management, good data. So yeah, but then you have multiple things, obviously, you can use this for also to build also. If you have that backbone correct, then you can also build for the future based on AI models. Yeah.
Cool. What about you, Mattias? Any cool tools?
Obviously, we have chosen Atomize as a partner for revenue management, and the challenge for us now and a project that we are working on is to combine the revenue management system with the operation system, so that we can predict in a better way, so that my operations can have predictability on staffing, on how much money do we earn that day, how much cost can we have. So that's one project we are working on together now. Yeah. And generally, beyond revenue management, to get all the systems to talk together, that's one of the things that we are working on.
Yeah, okay. And for us as well, I'm sure you know, but we have been using ChatGPT as well in our day-to-day operation in revenue management. And if you don't use it, or any other alternative. But for revenue strategy, at least use it as an assistant. Don't see it as a replacement, but more as an extension of your team and your knowledge. I think that's quite important. But what about you, Mattias, to continue on this one? What are the primary advantages of adopting intelligent automation over traditional manual methods in revenue management?
Obviously, it's efficiency. when my revenue manager Eric came with the proposal to use Atomize, I think it was a Friday wine thing. He told me, okay, instead of 5 properties, I can manage 22 with one revenue manager, and the addition of other tasks like more analysis and stuff like this, he has the capability to do that as well now. But also accuracy over a long time, half a year in the future, so that again operations can have more predictability and can early see where action is needed from the marketing and sales department, for example. So predictability, that's the main reason we use this system, and that makes it easier with the system instead of going through the calendar and marking the red and I don't know how they did it before.
Yeah, but you'll be surprised by how many hotels I still see who are still doing manual reporting on Excel spreadsheet. I'm sure you have seen this, but that's still the case in 2024. So automation, I think, is the next step and a step forward. But yeah, that's still happening nowadays. Yeah. And at CIC Hospitality, can you discuss a bit more about how front of the house and back of the house technology have actually evolved at CIC to improve your profitability and your hotel operation?
Yes, we are quite young company. We started in 2018, and the first hotel was in the middle of Norway, nowhere actually as well. And when I came there, you got the usual picture. When you come to reception, everyone is in the mail or is in the booking system, not looking up, not detecting the guests coming in. So we wanted early to define how we want our hosts to behave. We want to have them outside or a reception to greet them and to be there for them from the entrance. And obviously 2018 we started, 2020 something happened, was COVID. We went in with 5 hotels, came out with 17, and that's because we could try new technology, new systems, and even automation, robotization, and these kind of things. So we were, in a way, forced to apply technology through COVID, but we had the thought from the beginning. Today, we have both tech back of house, like mail AI systems, revenue management system, Atomize, accounting AI as well, forecasting, automated, budget automated. So we use a lot of the data we have, and we try to get everything in one system. And in front of house, we have self-check-in, we have our hologram technology, which is exhibited upstairs. So if you want to check out, I think we got a live connection to our office in Oslo. We have self-service shops and a self-serving F&B concept. But we are looking at robotization as well, cleaning robots for the common areas. We have applied that. We are looking at social robots now. We don't want to replace people, but we want to give them more time to focus on every individual guest. So that's why we try to find new technologies to help our staff getting more involved with as hosts, basically. We are looking at kitchen robots as well. We saw a little bit that in the first, but they're quite expensive. But you know, the robots that produce cars, they can make food now.
But do you think it's your technology and all systems that you're putting in place? Do you believe it's to replace stuff? Did you replace or did you cut some position or not?
No. We decided on our staff is going to handle high-level service, personal service. We want entertainers, we want people persons to not stand behind a desk or doing manual tasks. We only want this host function in our hotel operations. If an AI can do the boring stuff like answering emails and our robots can clean the floor, let them do that. Let people be people and be hosts. Yeah. And I think that's what guests appreciate as well.
I agree. And cool. And you, Alexander, what do you believe? Oh, you can add on this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, I think that one thing when you mentioned that you found Atomize, but I think we were as happy as to find a company like CIC, because it's not so often you come across, because it's about management as well. I mean, to have that mindset, because it's many times these days there are those that are, I mean, it's a leap of faith to do these kind of things that you have done on the robotic side. And I think one thing that was fascinating in the initial phase as well, and still is true, I believe, is that you measured revenue generated per labor hour or something, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that is sort of something that is core. I guess that still is true. Revenue generated by labor hour, and that means that that's what makes even the robotics so relevant for the kitchen and everything, because it's about maximizing revenue per labor hour.
Yeah, and that's because staff costs are quite high in Scandinavia generally. And again, we want to focus on some speaker earlier told that we need entertainers, we need people who like people. And I think we can all be a little bit better in finding these people in our hospitality business.
And what about Atomize? Or did Atomize help some hotels free up actually their time for them to do something else and focus on something else?
I mean, I believe that our belief is that I think that revenue management should be as invincible as possible. It shouldn't be, I mean, it's really back end. I mean, ideally, you should not be needed to spend time on that. I mean, ideally. So with that comes automation for us. So automation is something we really want to provide, and that is not easy because it's really a trust game. So if you fail in that mission, our clients would be very upset and leave us. So yes, I mean, to answer your question, I mean, automation enabling what Mattias is telling the story here, to have free up time to be with the guests and spend that time rather than spending time on crunching numbers and stuff like that.
And what about you, Mattias? Because you talk a lot about deployment of new technology.
Yeah.
But what about when you introduce a new tech? How do you make sure you have the team on board? And how do you make sure it doesn't overshadow the human element in your hotels? And what is kind of to make sure it's in line with your company philosophy as well?
Well, again, we work in hospitality. You can't work in hospitality without people. Sure. That's the main focus. It's the experience. But we see it as making people free to be hosts, as I said before. Again, we are looking for entertainers, peoples, if you know what I mean, that can talk to people, that want to talk to people. And even through technology, we do make the work so easy that we can work with inclusion, for example, with disabilities, people with disabilities can work at our place because we don't have the manual task anymore. That's the goal. Inclusion I told you about, and the back of house, of course, automation there is important as well. But the analytic part, the automation of the revenue management, then my revenue manager can analyze and control and maybe adapt and do other things to enhance the revenue even further. So tech enhancing humans as a tool. That's our philosophy. And it's always a little bit scary in the beginning for our employees as well, but they get used to it and they give the robot names and everything. So
I think like people are also scared of new technology. And when you introduce a new tech, the first question is always like, is it going to do my job? Are you going to replace me by this thing? So I think like it's very important for any tech or any new technology or any process that you put in place that you involve the team from day one. That you ask them about what you think of this, you think it's a good one, can you help you to make your job even better? But to involve them from day one, to make them they are engaged. Not to say like that's a technology and that's you should use it and that's it. Because if not, they will be scared and they will say, okay, maybe my job won't be relevant in the future. So very interesting on the first discussion that the team had on stage one. I don't know if you have seen like the evolution of technology and the AI. It just like keep accelerating and we cannot keep up, and people are scared. And I think we need as well to take this into consideration with your team to make sure they are engaged and they understand the purpose, and to reassure them that is to extend the team to help them do their job better, not to replace them. That's very important. And
that's the main focus for us as well. We always are very clear. We want don't want to exchange you with a robot, but or a machine or whatever, but we want to make your life easier.
Yeah.
That's the main goal.
That's the main goal of main technology, yeah. Just before we continue, we have a Slido. If you want to ask any question, we'll have a session of any question. I like to make it interactive, so if you have any question, let us know. And you, Alexander, what advice would you give to hoteliers who are considering the shift to actually automate system for their revenue management? Any good advice or bad advice, if you want?
I think maybe it's strange to come from a tech guy, but I think the biggest challenge is actually on the management side of things, because it's as I mentioned earlier, it's a mindset to leap of faith. Because I think I've seen hoteliers that they say they want to do it, but then they don't do it. So they end up somewhere in the middle, where and it's usually not a good place to be, where you are half into automation, you say you want to do it, but so have that commitment from management and believe in it and be ready to tackle any questions that pop up. But it's actually a management question rather than a technical question, I would say.
Okay.
And I think you have to be, of course, you not always match the right technology at once. So you have to be willing to take some risks as well, and trial and error is always a part. But that's how you learn as a company as well, and that's how we learn in CIC as well.
I'm going to touch about it in a second, but I believe it's all about experimenting what is working for you and what is not working as well, but keep learning on those kind of new tech. Because what is working for me may not be working in your hotel, and destinations are different, markets are different, but try to experiment and keep moving on this direction. And I believe that's the most important, to take risk.
True.
So yeah, it's quite interesting. And what do you believe the future trends are? What do you predict for the future of revenue management and the future of automation technology for hotel revenue management? And do you believe hotels will still need a revenue manager in the future? And before I go to this one, in this room, just raise your hand if you believe revenue managers the job of revenue manager will disappear in the next 5 years. Just raise your hand. So you believe we will still have revenue manager in the next 5 years? Okay. In the long term?
Okay.
Do you believe revenue manager will disappear in the long term? That's a minority. Or the one you don't want to raise your hand. Okay.
I think it's a great question, because I think people are mixing up, or not people, but the role and function. So if I put the phrase like this, how many of you believe that revenue managers will set prices, for instance, manually in 5 to 10 years?
None of them.
No one believes in that. Yeah. So it's a function or a role, because I absolutely agree. The role revenue management or revenue manager will still be there in 10 years, but will not have the function of setting prices. So that's sort of
what do you think?
I agree, and I think you always need this strategic oversight. Someone has to check the machine as well, and revenue managers will do that in the future. And you can't replace human judgment and creativity. CIC stands for caring, inspiring, creative. So that's why I think the judgment and the creativity of my revenue manager as well is very important, even though he uses Atomize as a system. And maybe customer relationship management, that even revenue managers are more focused on the experience of the relationship with the customer or the guests. Ethical considerations as well. Machines can make mistakes, and someone has to control that we are doing the right thing. Yeah. Some people under Taylor Swift took overpriced rooms in Stockholm. We tried to limit it a little bit, Erik, but. So you have to watch out not to go too far, and of course the customization of individual hotels and the flexibility to in the work and concentrate on the individual hotels. That's in my opinion as well important to have a human doing.
I will tell you something, because it's something I've been working on for the last few months. And I've interviewed quite a few professionals and experts in revenue management and tech, like thank you, Pablo, and others. But when I asked them the question about, do you think revenue management will still be relevant in 5 to 10 years? 99% of them told me the job of revenue manager will disappear or will be integrated into other functions in the next 5 to 10 years. So I don't believe that you guys don't believe that revenue manager will disappear. But and then I started to think about like, okay, fine, ChatGPT may replace the strategy or some elements, or Atomize can replace the pricing automation. That's completely fair. But I still believe that the human elements are still very relevant. So I still believe like we are at a tipping point right now where the job of a revenue manager needs to evolve. The skill set of a revenue manager needs to evolve, 100%, the mindset completely, and even the job needs to evolve. And that's why I came up with this kind of a framework to make sure the human is still relevant, from revenue management to something I call HERO, experimental revenue optimization, where revenue managers are much more seen as revenue scientists, revenue alchemists, which are much more like a growth marketing. When you try things, you see what is working, you see what is not working, you do some A/B testing, and this side of experimentation, of process optimization, that's something that AI cannot do. So I believe we need to start shifting our mindset into revenue management. Revenue management is not only about pricing. That's lean into technology, lean into AI as much as possible, because fortunately or unfortunately, AI and technology can do a better job than us. And us as revenue manager, revenue alchemists, revenue strategists, we need to focus on those type of processes, those type of experimentation, new partners, new tech, new campaign, new marketing, whatever, but try to experiment and shift this kind of mindset. And I believe that's where the human element is still relevant in the face of AI. But it's a long journey, and if us as an industry don't start to shift this element, I agree that AI can take over the job of human revenue manager. And if you ask owners and a lot of funds right now, the first thing when you implement an RMS, they say like, okay, how many team members I can cut? Can I get rid of my revenue managers? I say, no, actually. You will make your job actually better. They can focus on strategies, they can experiment much more. But the mindset of people is that they see technology as a replacement of the human element. And I think that us as an industry, we need to start shifting as well this mindset. All right? Do you agree with what I just mentioned?
Yeah, sorry.
No. Well, yes, of course, I agree, but also with some reservation to that. I think it was 4 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago at Atomize, we opened up a full API to OpenAI. So Open API ChatGPT. So now our engineers can use that in both coding, but also what's fascinating is that we are now trying to get the forecast that we generate automatically for up to 2 years out on a day-by-day basis. That is then can be tanked into ChatGPT, and you can ask it questions like formulate my strategy, optimize my strategy, recommend my strategy for the next year. And it can execute that on a Word format. So you can have it actually a document, and you know how it works. You can even do this, convert it to a PowerPoint. And it can visualize that strategy for you in less than a minute. Of course, you might want to go in and adjust that, but if you don't have an idea, if you're like, I want a sort of a starting point for my strategy, that I then from that point I want to adjust it. I think actually what I'm trying to say is this is getting into the strategy piece as well, but at the end of the day, someone needs to sign it off, right? And agree that this is in line with what we want to do and make minor adjustments. But I can see, just like playing chess, right? I mean, you cannot beat an AI today. And this is sort of like chess. If you have all the puzzle pieces, or you have all the nitty-gritty pieces of a jigsaw, how can I, in the best way, put them together to build my strategy in an most optimized way? And there, AI is extraordinary. And I just want to say that.
I'm completely blind on the time. Are we good with the time? No one? Time is fine? Yeah, all good. Any question? Anyone? You don't use a Slido, we can just raise your hand and can come to you. All good. You're all scared now that I said that revenue manager will disappear. And we have some questions actually. We have it here. Who is this guy, Pablo? With the current advancement in tech within the industry, how can hospitality school keep up to produce employable students? Very good question, Pablo.
Ooh, I would like to answer that because we have cooperations with what do you call it, a college, a university college in Sweden, and the Copenhagen Business Academy in Copenhagen in Denmark, and we are actually teaching them early to understand our way of thinking tech. So I think it's important to go out there and tell people, even students that are academics are a little bit behind in hospitality management. So we from the business need to go into schools and explain what we're actually doing. And for CIC, we are really trying to do that in both Sweden, Norway, and Denmark.
I think we need to make it much more attractive and much more fun than it is, because I believe a lot of students and a lot of young people don't choose this industry because it may seem a bit scary, but it's also our responsibility to make it fun and attractive. And it's very fun, like you can travel and so on, so that's our responsibility to make it fun. And I believe right now there's also a big gap, as you mentioned, in the curriculum of schools, all about tech. Okay, tech, like, that's far behind, but more about communication, all about influence, all about presentation and so on, which is a skills which, if you really look into the curriculum, they don't teach you in school, or most of school don't teach you. In revenue management, you learn about the data, but you don't learn about how to present the data or how to communicate effectively. And that's the most important. You can be crap at the data and very good at communication, and you will be a good revenue manager, in my opinion.
I just want to add also to that question that I mean, I see the tech as being a vehicle of some kind, and just like if you got to go to travel to the moon, you have a very good rocket. That would be your vehicle. But I mean, you cannot put astronaut. You cannot put a sort of uneducated astronaut into that rocket, right? You want them to be educated. Same thing with hospitality and revenue management. They need to be educated about the basic things and understand AI and be able to challenge it at times and so on in the future. So I think that's essential, actually, because otherwise we're talking about some AI taking over everything, and if you can't challenge it and so on. So I think it's actually even more important than ever now to educate, and these are, but they need to understand and engage with AI and so on in schools and in education to a larger extent. But still, you need the basis. You need to know the KPIs. You need to know everything and so on in revenue management. So that's definitely needed, as I see it, even in a decade from now.
I think we have time for another question. But how does Atomize measure market demand, and where does it come from, and how is it implemented into the RMS and pricing strategy?
All right.
And you have 40 seconds, so you don't go complicated.
Yeah. No. Okay. Market demand, it's complicated. We use a combination of historical data, real-time data as it happened now, together with market data in terms of search pressure data from the OTAs. So to be able to respond to market changes in real time. So for instance, Taylor Swift, the first thing that happened there, for instance, was that people were going to the OTA if looking for a hotel night. In that very moment, we're able to detect that, increase prices before the first reservation hits, for instance. And all these are dynamically weight balanced. So if you don't have a Taylor Swift effect, but you have a current situation with pacing of reservations happening, and it's the same pattern as in the historical data, well, then it's a good more weight into the historical data as a foundation for forecasting. But as soon as you have a shift there and you don't have the current real-time environment can be found in historical data, less weight is put to historical data.
Cool, but
that was a quick.
Yeah, those. Yeah. But I think our time is up. But thank you so much, everyone, for attending the meeting. I was going to say, and if you have any question, feel free to reach out afterwards. We'll be happy to answer any question. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. The next session is at 10 to 4 in the main hall. So enjoy, get a nice cup of coffee, and see you there.